A question we often get from a lot of people who come to approach us for training is like, okay, I'm not an athlete, I'm not a professional athlete, but I want to just get fitter. I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. I want to look better. I want to move better without pain. But they're like, oh, this all this stuff which you do, this performance training is not really for me. I don't know if it's for me. I'm not a professional athlete. I don't need to play any sport. But I have these things which are kind of impeding me in life. And I think that's something that we can kind of explore and get into today, based on the everyday athlete, not just necessarily the high performing athlete who's at the Olympics or IPL.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the firm beliefs that we've had ever since we've started, and as part of our core, how would I put it? Our core concept is the fact that elite performance is for all, right? And it's about elite performance in your respective lifestyle. If you're a professional athlete, it's very obvious. It's more on the physical realm and it's more geared towards specialization in sport. But if you are a CXO looking for high performance, the idea is that, or a housewife, or someone who's looking to do a trek, or someone who's looking to just be generally fit and more capable of doing whatever goals they have set, that is high performance, right, in your respective lifestyle. And the idea a lot of us came up with was the fact that, yeah, we look at high performance athletes as where we test a lot of the concepts, and because it is proof of whether it works or doesn't work in terms of a broad understanding of how the human body itself works. But the idea is also to take a lot of our learnings from there and apply it to the everyday athlete who is looking for more from life, who's looking to get more value from life. And it's the same way as all new technologies that come in the automobile industry starts from F1. They are the leaders, they innovate a lot, and then at some point they take what works and then apply it to our everyday cars. So I wouldn't take an everyday athlete or everyday high performer as a completely different model from someone who is an elite athlete who is competing internationally. Fundamentally, the human body is the same. We all have two arms, two legs, and our body systems more or less work the same way. Can we take the learnings from a high performance athlete and apply it to an everyday athlete? Help them get that 1 inch closer to their goals. And I think fundamentally that's the philosophy that we're trying to uphold, right?
I think probably when you think about it in terms of first principles, you're still working on this similar physiological systems. You're working on the cardiovascular system. You're working on the musculoskeletal system. You're working on the fascial system.
Yeah.
You're working on the nervous system and looking at, first of all, understanding where a person is at. You can do random things. You can go for a random fitness class, and yeah, you will probably get better at something.
Yeah.
But what do you need to get better at? That's always the question.
But don't you think that's a luxury of doing random things and still getting away with is a luxury of say 15 to 25-year-old
early youth,
where you can get away with doing random things. And I would say in a way it's actually beneficial for you to do a large variety of things when you're younger. But as you age, it's more about, okay, first let's fix what's probably not broken yet, but it's still a concern. That you have to be a lot more precise in what you need to do.
100%. And to get to what you need to do, you need to like assess yourself and understand where you're at in benchmarks. And the good thing is that there's actually a good amount of science. In fact, there's more science on the general population than on elite populations on, okay, what is a good marker of cardiovascular health? What is a good marker of muscle strength, of grip strength, of balance, of movement capacity? And if you understand these things, you can kind of work backwards and reverse engineer a person so that they can live better lives by moving pain-free, being able to do whatever they want aspirationally, whether it's like lift their grandkid up or run their first marathon. You can work backwards if you understand what the problem is before.
Yeah, I think the primary difference between, I would bring the automobile industry, but a car and a human body, the human body adapts to whatever stimulus given. Right. Yeah. So if you are someone who sits for 8 hours a day, your body is going to make sure you're really good at sitting for
world-class
elite at sitting for 8 hours a day, right? But then, we have our weekend warriors who sit for 8 hours a day, probably 5 to 6 days a week. And on the weekend, they want to, suddenly ramp up and play a sport. So I think the difference is, yeah, you do have to sit 8 hours a day, but now how do you maintain your body to be able to go and perform on the weekend even if it's for fun, right? Because there is that wear and tear because your body is specializing in sitting, and suddenly you want to go play a sport. Question is now, how do I modify my lifestyle enough to be able to check all the boxes that I need to check to be happy in life?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment, satisfaction, a lot of the social aspects which are there from doing things like playing in sports and then engaging in physical activity. Like, I don't think people are realizing that the body is not just like a vehicle to carry your brain around.
Yeah.
You need to take care of it, do some maintenance, then it can serve you in various other ways. That's one aspect of it. But if you look at like actual research in terms of uh, two things. One is in terms of mortality, which means like how what causes people to die, and morbidity, which is your how sick you are, or not. You're not looking at someone who is just alive, but also how well are they. More than your risk factor, which is your family history, more than your blood biochemistry in terms of maybe having like high cholesterol, more than many of these things, the one big factor, which actually the two big factors that make a huge difference in changing both how long you live and how well you live that length. So you can live till you're 100, but if you're debilitated and bedridden by 70, that's not wellness. But the two things that you're looking at, one is VO2 max, which is a cardiovascular fitness, and the second thing is muscular strength. And the good thing about this is, okay, everyone has a certain genetic potential of where they can be, but it's not like you have to be elite. You have to be good enough
I mean,
at a
most
certain
people
age.
never really reach their genetic potential. It
For
takes
sure.
years and probably some of them decades to really reach your genetic potential. So it's a cap that you may or may never reach, right?
Yeah.
It's only at the top 10% you're really pushing the boundaries of what your genetic potential is.
Yeah.
Here's my, I would say, my take on the whole longevity thing, right? A lot of it you see that, okay, this will help you live longer, that will help you live longer. But, you know, the problem with that is it's very difficult to prove it wrong, right? Because the day you die is over. You're not going to come back and argue saying that I've not lived to 100 years. I've done everything that you said, but I've not lived to 100 years. I've had a miserable life. I've not eaten anything. I've not gone out partying. I've not drank. But what you said has not helped me live to 100 years. So hence you were wrong. It's kind of it's a great marketing pitch because no one's going to wake up from the dead and prove you wrong. Whereas, I think the whole take on health has to flip to quality of life, right? What can you do today to make sure that tomorrow is better than the next day and the next day, right? At the end of the day, if you aren't happy and everything that you're doing isn't contributing to some form or the other to your today's happiness, and then the consecutive things, those are the things that you need to fix. If you don't like the way your body feels, it's something that you need to fix. If you don't like the way your body feels after you go on a night of drinking, that's something that you need to take. But everything needs a balance and a counterbalance to keep yourself always on the go to help you achieve that happiness that you want.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not getting good sleep, if you're not, I mean, I think, see, probably in your early 20s, all the way up to 30s is when people usually like push in terms of work, especially, and they don't necessarily take care of their bodies much, and often end up paying the price later on in their 40s, 50s, where getting diseases is, lifestyle disease is one aspect of it, but your sleep is messed up, your body is aching all the time, your energy levels are low, your mood is all over the place, and many people are able to go through life with that. But it's I don't know if you can live a better life and help to circumvent those problems, get those things done. One of the ways and one of the powerful tools is getting physical fitness along with, of course, the ancillary stuff, the recovery and.
Yeah, but I don't think the problem is really the intention of wanting to get it better.
Yeah.
The problem is, how do I get better?
For sure.
At least a lot of the common understanding is that if it works for him, it'll probably work for me. Right? But then that's like carpet bombing. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't hit, but then you go from one pole to another pole. It's kind of a big ping pong game that goes on, and that's what it is, right? You're kind of hedging your bets on the fact that it worked for someone else. It'll work for me as well. You go from, say, a keto diet to a vegan diet. You go from doing yoga to strength training, but the path may not be what you need, right? We talk about precision when it comes to a lot of things in life, and making sure that the data is what drives decisions, or data is what guides decision. But when it comes to our health, I mean, our phone has more data on the way it's behaving than we have on our own body, right? And we wait till we are sick to go to the hospital, and then we have a whole bunch of tests that basically tells us everything that is maybe not yet a concern but is on borderline, and these are the things that we want to fix immediately from a health standpoint. But if you're not in that space, if you're not sick yet, what do you do? Like, how do you make sure that you treat your body better than you treat your gadgets, your cars, and everything else that you probably have data with? And okay, these are the things that I can influence, these are the things that I want to change, if not in the short term, long term. Do we really have a health passport for ourselves?
Yeah, if you're able to kind of understand where you're at, then you can look at where you can aspire to be, and before you reach the stage where you're going to go into the hospital because you're sick with some lifestyle disease or you need to get that stuff done. How do you understand where you're at, and how do you understand how to improve your quality of life, so you don't necessarily have to already burden a quite burdened medical system, which is I mean, we have the highest levels of cardiovascular disease. India has become diabetic capital of the world. So it's clear that there are some issues like with the environment that we're living in, probably the lifestyles we're doing. But again, you need to find out what. Then you can rearrange and look at, okay, how to tailor these things for an individual to live a better life and to really improve certain markers that not you're not looking at something that's short term. Even as an athlete, of course, to get buy-in from an athlete, you want to have some improvement short term, but you're looking at a 10-year career minimum. You're looking
Yeah,
at
but also your life changes or your body changes, everything changes. Arguably every decade or so, there's a complete shift in how you need to look at your body. What you do in your 20s, you can't do in your 30s. What you do in your 30s, you can't do in your 40s, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's more like a moving target, as opposed to saying, like, we have clients who have been there for 10 years and gone through different stages in life, and every stage of their life proposes different challenges, and you need to give them different solutions, right? So what are the sciences that we look at when it comes to, firstly, identifying a problem or an opportunity, and how does that ideally contribute to someone's health over a period of time, as opposed to a point in time, which is, I think, fundamentally how we look at health, as a point in time. We don't look at it as a journey of figuring out what works, and if our lifestyle changes, if the requirements of our life changes, sure, should your habits change. So what are the sciences that ideally you want to look at? I mean, exercise science is one. Nutrition and the physiology of the body, and the way the body reacts to nutrition is another one. The psychology of of your brain, the way you think, the way you recover, the way you handle stress is another. But what are the auxiliary units that we look at apart from these three pillars?
we're looking at a bunch of other things. We're looking one at movement quality. I mean, there is one thing that I don't think is spoken about a lot is, yeah, it's good to move often. It's good to move in large amounts rather than, I guess,
Short
being
bursts.
sedentary. But can you move well? What does that mean? Does it mean moving well means being able to move in a way that is of quality, that one doesn't get you injured or get you hurt, but two is you're able to sustain over long periods of time without without having any issues. And primarily, I think it is being able to sustain it and have something that's consistent over time. And quality of movement is something that can be looked at, one, in terms of joint range of motion. You're looking at stability of certain muscles, being able to stabilize your body while you move in different
I think a
ways
good
in
example of
locomotion.
is like the front plank, which is one of the things that they keep as a marker of fitness and is most commonly used for I think for decades. Is the front plank. How long can you hold the front plank? But if you actually look at the front plank, it's basically everything in the front anterior based. But posturally, you need to make sure that all the muscles at the back,
They're holding
back
you
of your
up,
body
yeah.
are holding you up. If you have really strong anterior muscles but really weak posterior muscles, which is something that we lose as we age, right? And then you have a lot more curved posture or a concave posture, and that starts leading to issues. And the ratio is always 2:1, right? The postural muscles at the back always needs to be twice as strong as the muscles in the front. The postural muscle at the back has to have way more endurance to be able to keep you up. But if all we do is, what we call the mirror muscles, anything and everything that you can see in the mirror is what you want to train. But that ages you really badly over a period of time.
Yeah, so if you that reduces your movement quality, and then you're basically not able to move as much over time,
Yeah.
and then that will affect your health in various different ways. So again, which is, I think, it comes back to good coaching. So you're looking at, of course, all these things of assessment. You're looking at the aspects of understanding where you're at, what you need to do to get better, which is the programming aspect of it. But then that comes to another thing, which is about coaching. And I think a lot of what we do is actually, the heart of it is in coaching, in terms of getting people to move well, getting them to learn what can help them get better in all these different markers of physical fitness, but also get them to enjoy it and make it a part of their life. And
Yeah, it's about movement exploration as well. I think it's about understanding how your body moves, what your body is capable of. It's about problem solving at a very high level in terms of movement competencies. It's about throwing different challenges so that holistically are trying to figure out, how do I tackle this challenge, whether it is a simple movement or more complicated movements. And the idea is education, right? A big part of it is inform you guys, but also helping you all, kind of get educated on what and how to go about things, whether it's from a maintenance standpoint, whether it is from a ability standpoint, and it changes, right? So you should be able to adapt to everything that's happening. And it's like the reason why we call it a lab, because that's what it is, right? You're trying to figure out, you're trying to experiment, you're trying to see what works, and that adds a lot of neuroplasticity to the entire thing, which by extension applies to everything that happens in the rest of your life.
yeah. No, I think it's like, if you compare it to like learning an instrument like the piano, first you need to learn, okay, how to play the notes. And you need to learn how to coordinate your left and right hand together. Then you can say, okay, piece them together to make it sound good.
Yeah.
Then you learn to play a lot more complex pieces. And then, of course, like things like improvisational music, like jazz, where you're able to learn and interpret things and play it on the like in real time and create things which are there. And I think it's a similar continuum with movement as well, where you are looking at initially first, okay, maybe being out of pain, which is, a lot of people come to us often with pain, aches and pains, back pain, knee pain. I have this stiffness, I'm not able to sleep on my side because of something else is there. And as that gets better, then they're like, okay, I want to do some more. Now I think I'm ready to start walking a lot more. And then they start looking better, and they say, okay, I want to try playing some sport. Maybe badminton is a good thing to start with. And then that takes care of a lot of the other stuff which is there, and it becomes part of the lifestyle. It becomes something that is, you always have the next step to aspire to. There's something always to do, something to add in.